Como se dice, we miss you very much. A classroom not filled with students, it should never be. I find myself back in the building this week, getting back to some office hours. Yeah, it's just not the same. Walking these empty halls and not seeing all of your bright and cheery faces, not to be able to overhear all of the things that you didn't know that I was listening to as I walked past. Things just aren't the same. But we do miss you. We do look forward to that day when we will be able to be with you in this building again, at least for most of us. So we'll press on through the rest of this chapel, through the rest of this year, and with a couple chapels that we have left. And we will keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, who is with us, who is for us, who is doing a work, even though our circumstances are not ideal. Let me read for you a couple verses from 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Paul's been talking about his afflictions and his suffering, and even though he's going through all of this suffering, that nevertheless he still finds comfort in Jesus because of the hope that he has in Christ. And he wraps up chapter 4 by saying, "So we do not lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day." Our outer self, our flesh, our bodies, they are, for all of us, wasting away. Whether it's regarding my balding spot, that is wasting away, I think, at exponential rates, or whether it's those who have been impacted by COVID or other illnesses, or whether we're wasting away by sitting around inside your houses, playing video games and drinking Mountain Dew all day long. I hope that you're not wasting away because you're living that kind of lifestyle. But for all of us, our outer selves are wasting away because we are drawing nearer and nearer to the day that we see Jesus face to face. And so even though our flesh, what is physical about us, is wasting away this side of all things being made new, nevertheless, what Jesus is doing in us is renewing us and increasing who we were intended to be and increasing our conformity to the image of Christ. He's increasing and renewing a formation within us that reflects the image of God. And so even though our physical bodies are wasting away, and even if we feel that, we know that within us, Jesus Christ is renewing us through his Spirit. Paul goes on to say, "For this light and momentary affliction," and I know that in the moment, our affliction doesn't feel light and it doesn't feel momentary. Sometimes our affliction feels like the weight of the world crushing us. And sometimes when we're in the midst of affliction, it doesn't seem momentary, but sometimes we start to wonder if things will ever turn for the better, if things will ever start to look up again. But in the scope of eternity, in light of the gospel, in light of the eternal hope that we have, our affliction is light and momentary. And Jesus Christ is preparing for us, through the affliction that we're going through, he's preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. God never wastes our suffering, our affliction, things that we go through that are really hard and really difficult. Jesus Christ desires to use those things to form us and to shape us. And so have you seen the current situation that we're in as an opportunity to grow closer to Jesus and to look more like him? Or have you found it to be an obstacle in your relationship with him? He desires to do a work in you through this season. But for that, it says here, we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. In the midst of being stuck at home, we find what our heart truly gravitates towards. Is it that we try to cling towards other people or things or a certain way of life, things that belong to this world? Or do we find that we are clinging to things that we don't see, like an everlasting hope of eternal glory, something that is beyond comparison in worth and value? But because we don't see it, oftentimes we don't regard it and we don't value it. And we find ourselves valuing the things that we can see and that we can control, and the things that can give us a instant gratification. And so I'd ask you, as we're finishing up this school year and as you're going to roll into the summertime, and I'd ask you, are you finding your joy and your hope in the things of this world? Or are you finding an unshakable hope and a lasting joy in things that are unseen but are eternal? So think about this. Recognize that your affliction is not in vain. Your suffering, whatever that looks like, whether that's physical suffering or whether that's just suffering socially and not being able to have some of the meaningful friendships or meaningful events that you were really looking forward to. Do you see the hand of God at work in those things, renewing who you are by forming you back into the image of Jesus, to crafting you more and more into the likeness of God? Is He at work in you in that way? Are you allowing Him to work in you that way? Are you opening yourself up to the Word and to prayer? Are you renewing your mind by thinking about things that are right and good and pure and beautiful and excellent and worthy of praise? Are you fixating your mind on what God is doing in you? Or are you looking to your present afflictions and holding on to things of this world to try to give you joy in the midst of these circumstances? My admonition to you is to look to Jesus. And there's a new day every day, and every day has new mercies. And so there is never a point in which you are beyond repenting. If maybe you've just been squandering your time, turning your eyes back to Him, trusting in Jesus and walking with Him and with His people. And so know that though these halls are empty, our hearts are full of love, and we miss you. We're praying for you guys. We think about you all the time as we talk about you in staff meetings and we talk about our classrooms. Make sure you finish well, finish your schoolwork to the glory of God, finish this year well, and we look forward to when we can see you guys again. God bless.